me do my two-step.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of The Next Shot. And today I'm here with my buddy Jorge Torres. How you doing, Jorge?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So we are here at the Lake Norman Brewery in Denver, North Carolina, recording an episode of our podcast, The Next Shot. So, Jorge, give us a little idea about how you came into photography and videography.
Oh, wow. Where did I start? I guess we'll start from the beginning. I had just graduated high school, and I was in the community college that we have here in Statesville, which is where I'm from, and it's called Mitchell. And I was just taking, your basic, regular classes to try to, eventually move on. But then something just happened. I just got demotivated, didn't know what I truly wanted to do with myself, stuff like that. Ended up essentially flunking out and having like academic probation in just a small little community college. And running up, a friend of mine suggested, hey, you should look into this because it seems like you're really interested in it. Saw this person, realizing that he does what he does for a living, and I was like, yo, this is really cool and real. And then I come to realize, like, I'm always the, hey, can you take a photo guy and stuff like that. So from that moment on, like the curiosity grew. Then it became like, oh, I really like this, and it became to a now passion of mine. And then let's see where this goes. That's the very summed up version.
Gotcha. So a couple of these other questions are going to be along the same lines, but just remember, our viewers that are watching the show, some of these guys are beginners.
Yeah.
So you had a beginning, just like all of us did. So what equipment did you start out with, and what equipment did you advance to today? So,
well, the best camera is the one you have on you. So everybody starts it on their phone, putting it on a little tripod and acting like you're some, Hollywood filmmaker out here, and started off on there. Then during Christmas time, I was able to invest in a Canon Rebel SL2, a little APS-C camera that, which really got me going. And I had that for like a solid 3 to 4 years until I finally upgraded. And I rode that little sucker out until I outgrew it.
Right.
And so now I went from a little $500 Rebel Canon to pretty much like a pro mirrorless Canon R6 that there was no jump in between. I just do like a giant leap. That's really what it was. So that's what I rock now until I'm able to upgrade again.
Very good. So next question is, who inspired you other than your friend that you were talking about? Like, is there other photographers or anybody else in your family that inspires you or keeps you pursuing this passion for photo and video?
Well, my family, I don't think there was not really that many creative minds in my family. I'm the one that had more of the artistic side. But online wise, pretty sure every photographer, videographer has heard of some Canadian bearded person named Peter McKinnon.
Woo, we love Peter McKinnon.
Exactly. So he was my main influence, and honestly, it was before him. Casey Neistat, that was the guy my friend recommended me. He's like, I think you will like him and stuff like that. I'm like, this is what he does. It's so cool. So like I would catch myself like I would post like to learn video editing and stuff like that. I just digested what he did and how he put it together. Like I if you remember some of his old vlogs, he would. Yeah. You have your classic stationary shot, and then all of a sudden, it's the exact same shot, but now in a time lapse, like I did that. But then they got together, and I'm like, yo, this guy makes it into a movie. This is so cool. And from that point on, I just took, then I realized all the people that he collabed with, and then I just meeting, at that point, it was now meeting local people next that did it in my area, and just, connecting with them and stuff like that. So good old Peter and Casey were my initial inspirations, and I keep up with them to this day. You always got to remember where you came from, I guess.
This is true. And we had been promising you guys out there an episode of Peter McKinnon Appreciation video. So we may actually invite Jorge back to discuss some of the things that Peter's inspired him to do on that episode as well.
Count me in.
All right. So with that being said, the other question that we like to ask our guests is, what has been the hardest part about photo and video and your journey into kind of like the career that you're wanting to be into? So what was the hardest part for you?
Well, if we're going to take the obvious part out the way, all this stuff is, this ain't some cheap stuff.
No.
So it's finally a figuring out a way to muster up, save a little bit, and and then get that going to make yourself not look or resemble some kind of amateur style. So that's really one of the hardest, obviously, because it's you see the price logo on B&H and you kind of like have a knot in your stomach for a little bit. That's one of it, but really the main thing is, and I think most creatives now have that unfortunate mindset, is that like, and even I'm going through it now, and I can testify, this is what I go through on a daily basis today, is shifting from the creative brain to finding out how to make the business one, and having to to then try to make money out of it and make this like an actual career of it, because we're so focused on what we actually enjoy doing, and we're like, I don't want to worry about taxes and invoices and contracts or anything like that and stuff, and what has to happen, and I screw up myself 100%. So that's one of the hardest parts for sure.
Yeah. So I think we all have that sense of, we get caught up in doing what we love, but to make it a business, you have to switch to that side.
Yes. And
you learn a lot from trial and error based on, when we first started shooting weddings as a company with Unlimited Photography, we started out shooting $500 weddings.
Ah, the classic.
Yeah, the classic. Just,
can you help me out? I got $300.
Just a CD. Yeah. That's all I want. Just the images. You don't have to edit, right? So then when we bumped it up to our $1,500, $2,000 packages, we started seeing a lot of the clientele change. And as you start getting more professional, that's the way you need to do it. You need to do 10 weddings at a higher price point versus 50 weddings at a lower price point, so you don't burn yourself out.
That's very true.
And it also takes you to that professional level as well. So, all right. So, describe to the viewers what it's been like to shoot for the Charlotte Football Club. Oh,
is it not obvious by the shirt?
I love the shirt.
Appreciate it.
Love it.
So the way I got into it, this has been another key thing some people can take away, that this business isn't really what you know, it's who you know, and the who you know will take you much farther than what you know, and it will just help the what you know, because I was like, by the end of season 1 last year, I was just a fan. Right. I went to almost every single game, paid for it right out of pocket, almost the exact same seat every single time. But then now, you kind of, oh my God, what are they shooting with?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So I got major FOMO. So before the start of this season, I found out who was making like lyric videos of all our chants that we sing in the supporter section. And I went to one of their practices, and first of all, I listened to it, and it was like, this audio is kind of cringy and kind of weird. I figured I could probably help them out, make it sound nice and look cool. I went to one of their practices. I didn't bring anything with me because I just wanted to meet people, see how the place was and stuff like that. The next one, I did bring my camera.
Right.
I shot like a Instagram reel that did end up, I put it together, and it was like also a little promo for the first game that we had against the New England Revolution, and people loved it. And the now people that I'm with, they loved it. And thank you to the Blue Furia, which is the supporter group that is associated with Charlotte FC. They brought me in I'm now part of, with them, and they're the ones that, are on my credential badge and everything like that. So from that point on, talks from the second time I brought it and made that video and took some photos, talks went like that.
Yeah.
So now since almost game one, I've only missed one game, and I'm gonna have to miss another one later this month in August. But I've been with them ever since the beginning of the season, and I'm forever grateful.
That's awesome. And sometimes all it takes is somebody to give you a chance to see what you can do. Mm-hmm. And knowing your background, think about how, let's say 3-4 years ago, what were you shooting, and did you ever think that you would be shooting the Charlotte Football Club?
What was I shooting? I think it was just, like really like cheap weddings, like graduation photo shoots, little events on the side, stuff like that. But it was the funny thing is now is like to this day I still pinch myself as I'm sitting on the sidelines with a giant 300 mil in front of my camera, capturing all this action. Is because it's funny because I started out. I used to work for a nonprofit organization called Power Cross, and we shot their little 8 to 12-year-old football games, and that was my first intro into like sports photography and action, right? Nothing in between, like not even high school, college, or anything like that. So I went from that all the way to Major League Soccer.
Right. That's a big jump.
That's a big jump. But I've kind of I've figured it out. But I'm just glad for the experience that I've been able to grow from how I started to now, because it's crazy. When I first started doing all these little short Casey related videos,
right,
there was a moment where I just completely all of a sudden just stopped, because I was like, I don't really know how to use this. But then for a period of like 2.5, 3-ish years, I still shot, obviously, because you want to make a little money every now and then. But
right.
I just suckered in every single part of information and knowledge that I probably could have from every single corner of the internet, or just experiencing trial and error. So just learning on the fly and essentially screwing up was what really got me to knowing what I know now.
So let's get into video editing. How hard was that to transition from taking photos to shooting video, not just on your cell phone, and then taking it to the next level and being able to cut and paste stuff together? So tell us a little bit about your video editing experience.
Well, it was funny because I consider myself more I would say more a little bit of a hybrid, but I did start out doing like videos on my phone.
Right.
But your phone, it's just a simple click. You don't got to know anything about, the 180-degree rule, frame rate, what picture profile you're shooting in,
right,
color grading, the whole 9 yards. So by the time I got started, I got, this is part of the information that I had to learn during that time. So I did video first before I mastered photo.
Okay, so it was reversed.
It was actually reversed for me.
Okay.
And I'm going to say, obviously, it was on a phone, but you still got to learn how to cut, find you the right song that kind of fits the mood, because the song is key.
Right.
And then by that point, that's when my photo just became really easy for me at that point.
Gotcha. So next question is, what is the next step in your career? I mean, where do you see yourself in another 2 years from now?
I get told this every single time, and it's funny because I don't know, and I kind of like that little bit of surprise.
Yeah.
But if I had to give your politically correct answer,
right?
My goal is to eventually have my own production company as well. Be my solo creator for either local organizations, local small businesses, and help out their social media team or something like that. So if it's one of two things, if it isn't my own thing, I obviously would like to work for the creative team on a D1 or professional team. That's kind of, I would be okay with either one. But really, just have my own space and see where the good Lord takes me.
Very good. So, guys out there, all the viewers, listen, we're gonna discuss with Jorge here about how you can find and follow him on his social media. So you guys can go give him a like, share his work. You do a great job, man.
Thank you so much.
The pictures and video that I've seen so far looks really, really good. So
it's funny because we planned on doing this a while ago.
Yeah,
and
it's been
I didn't
a while.
have a lot. And then you messaged me like a couple of days ago. You're like, "Yo, you've been busy." I'm like, "Yeah."
That's good though. That's the way we want it, and we want to thank you for taking the time out of your day today to come up here and record for our viewers as well. So we just want to thank you for that.
No, thank you.
So tell everybody out there how they can get in touch with you and follow and share.
Well, you can find me almost Facebook and Instagram at Jorge T Photo Vid. If you want to know me a little bit more personal and all the things that I do, it's the same username on Twitter as well. By the time this gets put out, pretty sure my website better be done at JorgeMTorres.com.
Very good.
Pretty sure it's on the screen somewhere.
Yep, we'll have it on there.
Exactly. But that's pretty much about it. Message me. My DMs are open. I'm open to talking, helping out anybody. I don't think I'm better than anybody, and I'm willing to help anybody through their career as well.
Very good. All right, special shout out to David and Lake Norman Brewery as well for hosting this episode of The Next Shot. And if you haven't already come by and check it out here in Denver, North Carolina, you'll always find great beers and a great atmosphere. They have live bands. They do all kind of crazy stuff. These are actually three. Mm-hmm. I think Jorge got a new one too. So these are three of their new beers that they've got. This one here, let's go in, and I've got the name. It's a little bit more complicated.
He had to get fancy with us.
Yeah, I was like, let me get something that's going to be... okay, so the Cherry Lime Spritzer is on the other side of the growler there. I have their other new one, which is the Mango Lime Drink Loco. And then what do you have?
You're very citrusy for a very cloudy
Yes.
and rainy day. I will give you credit for that.
I love the citrus beers for some reason. So what do you have?
And I got like a mixed berry, kind of the same thing. I had no idea it looked exactly as that one.
Yeah.
But it was really good.
So awesome. Again, thank you, David and Lake Norman Brewery for hosting the show. And guys, we'd also like to thank Jorge Torres for being our special guest today.
Thank you for having me, man. It was great.
You're welcome, man. And
I'll be back anytime you tell me.
Oh, it might be sooner than you think. And any last words for the beginners out there? Look into the camera and tell the beginners some.
This feels like an episode of Hot Ones. This camera,
Yes.
this camera, this camera.
That's it. You're in the hot seat now, buddy.
What can I say? Really, never just stop shooting. And even when it's something you don't feel like is going to bring you any benefit, just keep shooting because somebody's going to see it. And if I can give a quick example, I enjoy my Saturday nights at the bank and shooting all these games. I still shoot the MLS Next Pro games for reps.
Gotcha.
And just keep honing on it. And obviously I'll take, I love my portraits, I love weddings and stuff like that. But those Crown Legacy games are my reps, my 10,000 hours. You're getting it in the gym, you're working, those for me, well, I can get good shots, obviously, but, it's different. So always keep going and, just never stop improving and have faith, obviously, yeah.
Very good. All right, guys out there. Again, thank everybody for sponsoring this show. And until next time, keep shooting.
Always.